Okay, here we go. I'm, I am getting a kick out of last minute walking through the door. Okay, here we go. 20 minutes ago, I was at a client's office setting the alarm and locking the door across town. Got here 7 minutes before
DougBot said, hey,
showtime
is this thing on?
and got everything going. I got started on time. I'm gonna run through time slips quickly. I've got a few things on tap. I've got a NAS there with some new drives to set up. And of course, if you have questions in chat about issues that you're dealing with or stories to tell, those are quite welcome. Now, I haven't even looked at my timesheet this week, and I think that's probably going to be pretty regular. I feel like it's probably going to be a bit low, and I know that there's probably 3, 4, 5 hours from yesterday and today that I have not recorded yet. Maybe it's a little bit more than that. So, like I started last week, I'm intending to do this on a regular basis, is really giving an idea of what's going on, what I do in my actual work. So I'm going to hit the topics. If there's a topic that you're interested in hearing more about, then you can put that in chat. You could either hold on to that till I get through some of the basic stuff, or you could go ahead and put it in as a read chat, and I will probably hold it off for a little bit. So my timesheet shows 12 hours and 20 minutes. Like I said, there's probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours yesterday and today that I have not recorded yet. So Sunday, there was 4 hours and 40 minutes. Really? Wow. Oh yeah, that's right, because I was installing I got this Synology NAS that Carrie Holzman very graciously and generously gave me. I got it back. I repossessed it because I got a new one for my client. Put the drives that had been running in that device, which belongs to them, into their new box, and it adopted them. That did not go smoothly. There were some issues with that, so that's a story that you may be interested in. Then Monday, let's see, yeah, that was Sunday. Then Monday shows 4 hours and 55 minutes. Let's see, there was a 47-minute on site for, let's see, the Law 40 office for a variety of things on site work. Let's see, rediscovery. There was actually an issue with them not seeing the NAS. And why was that? Upgrades. No. Curry WX app. Rediscovery, revise. Okay. Oh, no. I'm mistaken. Oh, that's 47 minutes. No, there was no problem with WX. I just went in on the morning, Monday morning, 7:10 a.m. to make sure everything was okay. Yeah, and it was fine. And I also walked through the building looking at all their computers to see how many more computers do we still have to do upgrades on. And there are 4 Windows 10 computers still there. Then 42 minutes at another client, 2 p.m. to 2:42 p.m. Their time clock kiosk. You've seen that the tablet before. It's an Android tablet. I've had it in here because one time the battery was swollen, and I replaced the entire device. But here they reported the time clock wasn't working. So I went in, I did, there was 42 minutes on that time, and then later that same day, another 3 hours and 10 minutes to really get the problem resolved, because there was nothing wrong with the tablet whatsoever. What happened is that their internet sort of kind of went down at the same time. And so what was happening, they didn't realize it at the time, is that all of their computers still indicated they were connected to the internet, but they couldn't browse any website. So website browsing was broken. Why? There was another, let's see, another 16 minutes later that same day. So at the end of the story, what happened was, and this was AI assisted, all other measures were exhausted, I had talked to Comcast by phone. They were sending a technician out on an emergency basis, which he did show up just after I solved the issue. But Gemini assisted. I went into configuration and found that there was a firewall setting that had gotten changed. And it was, I have photos of it, it was set to block all HTTP interactions. So still connected to the internet, just can't do any web browsing. How that got changed, I haven't a clue. And the AI said sometimes it happens with an update. Well, we did, as part of trying to solve the problem with the tablet, restart the router. Did that actually trigger that change? And prior to that was actually a tablet problem itself. So there's a little bit of mystery there. Basically, get to the point where you got the problem solved, move on. Then on Tuesday, 4 minutes, it was phone and remote support to fix the layout of a court document. My client, an attorney, had a court document that he was working on, and the layout was all wrong. Instead of the standard formatting that you would see in a legal pleading, everything was left aligned on the left edge. And he didn't know what to do. This was throwing him for a loop. This was upsetting him. It was a 4-minute billable time to fix it. I love putting these little short time slips onto his bill because it shows how valuable it is to just call me. Something goes wrong, just call me. Don't stress out trying to fix it yourself. It was down at the bottom of Microsoft Word. There's those 3 or 4 buttons, print layout and editing or draft mode, I think, and web layout. Well, he had got switched to web layout. So it was showing it as it would appear if it was shown as a web page. Well, there was no HTTP code in there, so it really looked ugly. So we just changed it to print layout, and that was fine. So actually that 4 minutes was a little bit of buffer because I added a minute to cover the time that it would take to type the time slip out. And the remote connection was that quick. That was from the start of the phone call to the end of doing the time slip. Then another one, 3 minutes on Wednesday. This was a chiropractor. Fixed Microsoft Word documents printing in real light. The lettering was very light. So 3 minutes. I connected remote, and she had her default normal font somehow got changed to a gradient rather than automatic. So changed it back to automatic. Showed her that. We're done. Fixed her day. Then also Wednesday, a 7-minute phone consultation. Client was wanting to browse or consider ideas of making a change to how they do bookkeeping in their office. So that was just the beginning of that conversation. Then a client, 23 minutes on Wednesday that I haven't heard from for a while. It was, she had a remote takeover of her computer. She got that screen that we've talked about a couple of times. It says updating. Please don't turn your computer off, updating. She didn't see movement on the screen, but she had walked away from her computer. She had clicked on a link in an email that she later instantly recognized as scam, but it was saying something in the body of the letter that she thought she did. It was what was it? Some kind of Social Security, some kind of Social Security update report that you get an annual report of your account. She assumed that's what it was. She didn't look closely. The email had been sent to a whole bunch of email addresses, and it was from an obviously bogus and she just was so embarrassed that she had clicked that without checking because she knows better. And then she walked away from the computer and came back, and she had left the computer unattended for about an hour. And when she saw that, she immediately turned the computer off. And then somewhat later, she called me. Well, she had already turned the computer back on. So I said, well, all right, as long as you've got it on. I went in and found 2 remote connection softwares that had been installed, did some other checking. and it looked like that she was clean. And I've seen enough of those to say that yeah, just get rid of that active infection. Now we don't know what was exfiltrated during that time. Um, so there is that possibility, and I told her that. Oh yeah, I did get audio confirmation because I had to mute that. Then on a Thursday, an hour and 20 minutes. And by the way, my time was a little bit low this week because I've been doing some personal tasks, household tasks, so I knew I was going to be a little bit light on my time. Let's see. So that the client again that we're talking further, or actually not talking further, is I did some research regarding the change to their bookkeeping that they're interested in doing. They want to assign an assistant bookkeeper to do a certain part of the bookkeeping, but they don't want that person to have access to everything. So I gave them a written report, AI assisted again, for what our options are. And it was going to involve in a new user account in QuickBooks for an assistant and a new user account for an executive to be able to provide the report that the assistant needs in order to create the checks that are needed without giving her access to other things in QuickBooks. Then Friday, 45 minutes, phone and remote support. Oh, two-factor authentication. A client that has been needing to get a two-factor authentication in for TimeSlips Go, which is the web version of TimeSlips for their timekeepers for entering their time. Well, I originally set that up as a two-factor authentication to Google Authenticator on my phone. So for a few months now, she's had to call me about every 30 days to get a code. And I told her right at the beginning, we're going to need to get an authenticator app on your phone so that you can do this. So she finally got around to doing it. And so we did that, and we had some other conversation. Oh, website management. They need, this is where somebody you watching live or maybe it watches this after the fact might have some tips for me. They are dissatisfied with their current website manager, not the web hosting service, but the person who is managing their website to make changes to it. Specifically, they have a button on their website for paying invoices, and that is sometimes doesn't work, and they have to call them and ask them to fix it, and it takes a while before they get around to it. I get the impression it's a two-person operation because I have two names of their office that have been recurring conversations with them over the years. So what I'm wanting to find for them is not a small website developer says, yeah, I can do that for you. I'm looking for a company that we know that they're going to be long-term and that we're not going to be tied to one individual person. So I haven't done any investigating yet. And since it's a law office, I'm inclined to go looking along law office lines for people who specialize in their websites. And if I turn to my resources, I'm going to be going to Gemini and ask Gemini about it. So that is my time sheets. Then the other thing that I wanted to try, I just started last week, is to show you what's been going on in my Gemini chat. So here we go for that. Let's see, I had some interaction regarding my Pandora account, made a change to that. I downloaded Windows 11. I had an error trying to download the ISO this morning. So here's today, and then there's yesterday. Video legitimacy, driving simulator. That's something that was curiosity thing with my brothers. So canceling verification risk options, TimeSlips payment processing integrations, mini PC price increase. Oh, a huge price increase on mini PCs. I think I told you a story recently about telling my client that the price had gone up for the B-Link computers. This client had paid $200 in October 2025 for a B-Link S13 with 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte NVMe drive. And then 2 or 3 weeks ago, we needed another computer for them, and I told her it's $340 now. Went from $200 to $340. Yesterday, I found that it's $410. So I did some shopping around, finding that this looks to be a price increase among at least all mini computers, perhaps all computers. And I think it's the the story about the
Read chat, please.
data centers and the AI taking up so much of the CPUs and memory and such, and the somewhat of the world things about going on with that ocean passageway that's blocked, and tariffs, and perhaps just supply and demand. Yeah, Dennis is saying, yep, tariffs and inflation. That last read chat from John Downey was your story about the woman who may have had her files exfiltrated is a use case for a SIEM, Security Information Event Manager. John Downey, were you the one that's in school for that? I think you said last week that you were about to graduate with that. I would very much like to either interview you on my show or interview you through a Zoom session and record it, or if you don't want to do either of those, just to have a face-to-face conversation with you that I won't air at all. I would like to have that conversation with you. Dennis has got an all caps yes. I think that means he's interested in that too. And John Downey says yes. So would you send me an email, John Downey, and we can work out the details about how much you're willing to do with that? Because I'm very, very interested in that. Okay. So then I'll come back further on my list here. The price increases, troubleshooting SID changed batch script and improved the way that works. Unauthorized Dell laptop on a network. That was a scare. I got a notification on my phone saying saying a Dell laptop is connected to my local network. Greg M says client dropped off old AMD system. Let's go pull this up on screen. I didn't get through. You know what? I'll just scroll through those, and if you're interested, you can. Whoops! Oh, that's as far as it goes to the April 9th. They go further than that. There's some way to show more. Why isn't that showing more? I don't know. I'll come over to do it this way, and it's still only scrolling down to April 9th. I thought last week it scrolled down a lot further for me. Okay, I won't take any more time with that now. So let's come over here and bring up today's chat. Pause that and mute it in case I accidentally unpause it, and pop out chat. Okay, Greg M. Client dropped off old AMD system, said motherboard was dead. All components had power cable disconnected. Hooked up the GPU, system booted. Turns out someone else was using the system, and apparently Win update failed. Okay, let's try to, then it failed because the 500 gigabyte SSD had 5 gigabytes of free space, yeah. Then I had to battle with Asus software under 24H2. So let's try to fill in some blanks here. No, here's another one from Greg. Could not uninstall Asus software, and it kept throwing errors on boot up. And 24H2 could not install. So yeah, 24H2 would not install because it didn't have enough free disk space. So now that I've read the other parts, let's see what else makes sense out of here. Client dropped off an old computer. It's AMD. Said the motherboard was dead. All components had power cable disconnected. So all components, I'm thinking that's the hard drive. It could have been a 2.5 inch spinning drive or SSD, or it could have been a 3.5 inch spinning hard drive. Maybe the DVD drive had power cable disconnected. Maybe the graphics adapter, if so equipped, had a power disconnected. Motherboard could have had power disconnected if you're going to say all components. Hooked up the GPU. So I'm thinking that means connected the power to the GPU because he probably had a monitor plugged in to the graphics card and it didn't have power, so it wouldn't show a display, and client says that the motherboard was dead. However, we don't know what happened first. We don't know if they unplugged all that stuff in their effort to troubleshoot the issue, because I think it's highly unlikely that the computer was working and then mysteriously all the power got disconnected from inside. Somebody did that. Turns out someone else was using the system. So maybe someone else had possession of the system in their home or office somewhere else. Maybe the computer came back to this client. Maybe it sat around for months at the client's location, and then they tried to turn it on, and it was had a problem because of the Windows Update problem, and maybe they opened it up and started unplugging things and wound up saying the motherboard's dead now, without giving a whole lot of detail to Greg about what happened. What happened? All components. Turns out there's lots of possible scenarios. I just took a stab throwing mud at the wall. Turns out someone else was using it. Apparently, when update failed, that was probably the first problem that happened. A Windows update for 24H2 failed. Maybe it got somehow stuck. Maybe some kind of a boot corruption that whatever, somebody started digging in deeper trying to fix it. It failed because the 500 gigabyte SSD had 5 gigabytes of free space. Then I had to battle with ASUS software under 24H2. So the upgrade was probably trying to go to 25H2 because I think 24H2 is no longer supported, I think. So I think everybody's kind of getting forced to 25H2 if you're still on 24H2, I think. Hello, Jim. Let's see, did I comprehend all of that? I had to battle with ASUS software. So I'm not sure what the ASUS
read chat, please.
Could be like. It could be like RGB stuff. Could not uninstall ASUS software. It kept throwing errors on boot up. Oh, okay. So that's what's going on with ASUS, is it was throwing errors. I would turn to Revo uninstaller for that, since I already own the professional portable version of it. That's where I would turn for that. I would also turn, if outside of that, I would turn to AI, and expecting that it's going to tell you some things that you can do in registry to dig out of that hole. Now let's see that I got that highlighted. Let's go see that last read chat, please. Sorry, 23H2 upgraded 24H2. Oh, okay. So he was having to fight with the ASUS software after it upgraded to 24H2. So that would imply that he took care of the insufficient disk space and got it updated to 24H2, then was having problems with the ASUS software. John Downey says, sure, I think that has to do with my request for an interview, and I understand that you're new to this, so maybe the class that you're in is your dog paddling to keep up, to keep your head above water. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe even better than if you feel you've got it all nailed. Let's see, could not uninstall ASUS software. Again, I got that. Anything more here? He couldn't uninstall it. You could go into, perhaps one of the methods of fixing it would be to go into safe mode. Windows 11 is a little bit weird with safe mode, but it's still there. NAS story, do tell. Jim wants to know. Oh yeah, the NAS, the adoption of those of the existing drives that I took out of this device and put it into new NAS, that did not go well. And I have that pretty fully documented through Gemini because I had Gemini working with me. Now, what I can do for that is I can go to that Gemini chat, and different than what I've done for you in the past is I will go to that Gemini chat and ask it to give me a summary of all the stuff that went wrong, rather than me scrolling through it trying to find it. That would be an interesting thing to do. First rule of SIEM, do not click any link in an email. That's not true. Do not click any link in an email until you have fully vetted it, assuming that you know how to fully vet it. And that's what I talked with that client. I said, you need to adjust your thinking, because this was, the news media a lot of times says, don't click on a link from somebody you don't know. You know, Social Security. Do you really know that was from them though? So I told my clients, don't click on any link until you have fully vetted it. Because if you do, for instance, if you're trying to sign into something and it's one of those that's going to send a two-factor notification to you by email, and it's a link for you to click on, of course you're going to click on that. So I don't like just telling people don't click on any link in an email, but don't click on any link in an email until you have fully vetted it. It means you've looked at the address that it's come from and you've verified that that is legitimate address for the sender. You've looked at who it's sent to. It's not sent to anyone other than you, or if it is, does that make sense? You float your mouse over the link and look at the URL. Does it match the domain name of where it should be, and where it should be coming from? Read the entire body of the email. Is there any weird grammatical errors? Is there stupid stuff in there? So fully vet it. And I think there may be one or two other things that I could say, like looking at the header information, or if you're on Gmail, it gives a real good summary at the top to be sure that the I'm forgetting those couple of acronyms to validate that it's legit. All right, so I know I've got a read chat down here somewhere. That was 11:19. Read at Greg M. Last comment as LOL Lawn Dog. I don't think that's the one he meant. Read Greg M. Last comment. How about this one? I think this one, under 24H2, Asus AI Suite was not compatible, okay, and could not uninstall it. I wound up using Revo to uninstall it. Bingo, bada boom. Very good. Was that the free version should be able to do that fine? Were you just using the normal free version for that? Or do you have there's a couple different paid versions too. I got the paid portable rather than the paid installed, because the paid installed just works on that computer.
Read chat, please.
Portable version. I don't think there's a free portable version, so I'm assuming that means the paid portable. The free version kind of functions like a portable, I think, and he does say paid. Awesome. I'm very, very much liking that. That was a good purchase. I think I might have done a lifetime purchase on that. There is a free portable version of Revo, according to Lawn Dog. Thank you. Okay, so Greg M, let's throw you some points for giving us a story there, and confirm that works. Oh, Jim's interested in the NAS story. Now I don't know if I don't really care whether we install the new drives in the NAS today. If we do that, what you'll see is just the basic setup procedure for a NAS. You're not going to see a drive adoption there. Then, yeah, let's go look for that story. So I'm going to come over here to Gemini and search for Synology. But before I do the search for it, I'm going to take that off because there's some references in there to my client. Let's see, migration next steps. Yeah, so here I can recognize the right one by April 5th. Yeah, it was that long ago. It was last weekend. So yeah, that's last weekend. So I'll click into that one and get down to the bottom. So there's nothing in here that is client specific. So what I'm going to do, well, you can listen to what I'm going to do. Give me a summary of everything that we did during this chat in regards to adopting these drives. Particularly, I want to document in this summary the things that went wrong, including any things that I did wrong and including any wrong advice from you. And also, of course, what the actual solution wound up being. Okay, then hit enter, and it crunches away on those, using those CPUs and memory that is causing us so much pricing grief in the industry, I think. Oh, by the way, I got a huge warehouse facility going up about a half mile from my house. Looks like a prison. I did some searching to figure out what it is, and it's all secretive. It's the public notices and such. All they're talking about is the warehouse size and how many thousands of car trips are expected per day and truck trips expected per day. It's sandwiched right between a freeway and a railroad. I think it's the A company. I think it's the A team. Let's see. You know, I forgot to tell it, don't include any client specific terminology. So I'm scrolling through it, looking at this. Oh, what? That's weird. Why does it mention a nano KVM in there? Yeah, all right. Well, let's just go through it. I just scanned it over. I haven't read it, so I don't know how good this is. I might fill in some extra details of things that I remember. Is that zoom level okay? Let's try closing this side. All right. How about that? Here's a complete, candid summary of your NAS drive migration and the troubleshooting process we went through today. It wasn't today. Can't read a calendar. This covers the technical steps, the missteps from both sides, the system quirks, and the final resolutions. Whoa. All right, here we go. Let's do auto scroll. Get it down in position. The core objective. You physically moved hard drives containing existing data from an old Synology NAS into a new Synology NAS. The goal was to boot the new hardware, ensure the operating system adopted the existing storage volumes, and restore the network address to the Office workstations under the original static IP address .103. What went wrong? The roadblocks. The invisible NAS. Upon booting, the NAS displayed a healthy solid green status light, but could not be found via the findsynology.com web portable or standard local network pings. Yeah, I had completely forgotten about this piece of it. I just knew there were a few things that went wrong. I could not ping it at the IP address. the findsynology.com would not work. There was no way I could get connected to it. Now, there was a point I did get connected to it before adopting the drives. After adopting the drives and it restarted, that's when I could not get connected to it. Yeah, the Gemini missed that little important tidbit. The router limitation. Because the network is managed by an ISP-controlled Fortinet router, you could not log into the router to check the DHCP client list to see if the NAS had been assigned an IP address. I did use that utility that a viewer on Kerry Holzman's channel had created to help find nano KVM devices. That's why it mentioned nano KVM later on, I think. So that it would ping all of the addresses that are on the network, and I could find potentially which one might it be. Well, I'll wait till Gemini tells us about that, because I think Gemini probably is going to give us the detail about that. Another thing that went wrong, 2 FIA email verification loop. During the initial login, Synology Setup Wizard threw an error 9092 timeout when trying to send a verification email. Even after the email arrived and was verified, the NAS web interface refused to acknowledge it, trapping you in a setup loop. Workstations disconnected. After restoring the static IP, so that .103, so, I can look over here. The Windows workstation still could not see the X and W drives, which is the network shares, and they should be able to see them at that point. Let me do a couple of adjustments here so I can sit more comfortably and not be turning my head back and forth like a freaking ping pong table. Ping pong tables don't turn their heads back and forth, the people do. Dad joke. Bump. Workstations disconnected. After restoring static IP, the workstation still could not see the W. It seems like I read that already. Missteps and incorrect assumptions. To ensure accurate documentation, here's a breakdown of the miscommunications and errors made during troubleshooting. Because, yeah, we like to tell about our mistakes here. My mistakes, meaning the AI. Losing migration context. Because our session carried over from a previous chat, I lost the context that you were migrating existing drives. Now, it wasn't a previous chat. It wasn't a separate chat. It was that the chat had been so long that it had forgotten about the early part of the chat, and it forgot what we had been doing. I lost the context that you're migrating as existing drives. I incorrectly phrased a step as ready to map your Windows computer so you can start managing your files, which sounded like setting up a blank NAS from scratch. Yeah, I've just been through all this work with it, migrating drives over, already have shares there, and it asked me, are you ready to map to your Windows computer so you can start managing your files? Oh, that's already done. These are existing drives. Forgetting the SMB status, I suggested that Synology OS might have temporarily disabled SMB during the network reset. I failed to recall the context from your previous chat that you had intentionally disabled SMB prior to the migration. Yeah, we did. Why did we do that? Oh, I know. I disabled SMB before doing the migration because I wanted to be sure that if anybody connected to their office computer remotely, that they would not be able to access the WNX drives while I was working on the migration. It was my way of locking them out. So when we were at a point where we were not able to connect from the workstations, the reason we couldn't connect is because I had disabled SMB and forgot about that. So did Gemini. Troubleshooting process missteps, wait a minute, isn't that what we were in? Troubleshooting process missteps. Let's go, what was this section called? missteps and incorrection. Okay, my mistakes, the AIs, and then here. Okay, the troubleshooting mistakes, I guess, that I made or that we made. Relying on the web assistant. Oh yeah. Oh, this. If I knew better, I'll bet some of you knew better than relying on the web assistant. Attempting to use finds.synology.com while the laptop and NAS were directly connected via Ethernet. Okay, it was part of the troubleshooting. I connected Ethernet cable directly from the NAS to my laptop and gave them a little bit of time for them both to auto-generate self-assigned IP addresses. So still, findsynology.com would still not work. The web assistant requires an active internet connection to function, which a direct cable connection lacks. But determining what the IP address using that utility that came from Carrie Holzman's viewer, I think also failed. I think I could determine what the IP address was. I'm not sure I'm remembering that right. So stop talking from memory, Doug, when you have the documentation right here, sort of. Filtered ARP scans. When using NanoKVM DT, that's why it's mentioning that, is because that's the name of the utility that Carrie Holzman's viewer created to help when trying to find a NanoKVM on the network. Well, I knew what that thing does is it enumerates all the devices that are on the network, sends a ping to them all so that they're all known to the current computer. So I misused, I abused that utility. Abused, that word means abnormal use. So this was an abnormal, unintended use of that utility. So I abused it. When using the NanoKVM script to ping the subnet, the script was hard-coded to scan the ARP table specifically for MAC addresses starting with 48DA35. Now, I did not know that little tidbit. So this inadvertently filtered out the Synology MAC addresses, making the ARP table appear emptier than it was. I am not totally certain about that deduction, but it might be the case. I thought that utility tries to ping all possible IP addresses. I thought that's the way that it worked. And filtering out other MAC addresses, yeah, I don't know if that's actually the way it works. The mode 1 reset quirk, the 4-second paperclip reset. Okay, so I used a paperclip to the reset button on the back. Now, Gemini is not going to document my next comment here because Gemini doesn't know about this bit. When I looked, for the reset pinhole, I thought I had it. I might had it wrong, and before I went down the wrong hole, I went and looked up the documentation, because let me show you what happens when I go looking for a reset. Let's see, keyboard camera. I have no idea how that's positioned right now. I need to grab something here. Okay. Had a network cable connected, and I'm looking at the back for a reset pinhole, and I'm thinking it's this guy. But there's a word right next to it that says SATA. So that just tweaks me a little bit. I don't think that's it. And I'm looking around here, and I'm not seeing any reset pinhole for a paperclip. So I go look up the documentation for it and find out, oh, it's hiding right behind this Ethernet clip, because the Ethernet that was plugged into it was like this one, and I couldn't see that pinhole there. So there's the pinhole. You press in that a few seconds, hear a beep, and that is supposed to reset the network, not reset the entire device. And it did not reset the entire device. My admin password was still valid, and my shares and all was still there. Reset mode court, 4-second paperclip did not perform as expected. Yeah, it didn't reset. At that point, I had, let's see, what we were trying to get, we were concerned that the Ethernet had been set to a static address at that point. We weren't being able to get through to it. Or it was when we were connecting directly to my laptop and then going back to the network. I'm not sure. While it seemed to eventually prompt the NAS to request a DHCP address, it failed to reset the administrator password. I didn't want it to do that, as you successfully logged in using the old password. I don't know why it thought that was a reset quirk, because when it told me to do the 4-second, it told me that that was just going to reset the network settings and not set the password. So this is a little strange wording to my mind. I think maybe you have to hold it longer to reset the administrator password. I know I've done that in the past because of when I was playing around with encryption. Yeah, playing around with encryption and finding that if you reset the administrator's password, that would thwart the encryption. I think I'm saying that right. Okay, then the actual solutions, what finally worked. Abandoning the web tool for the desktop app. Oh, abandoning web tools in lieu of the desktop app. We switched to the desktop app instead of web tools because the web tools, the findsynology.com, failed to find it, and pinging an IP address when we had verification that the IP address was valid, we could ping it, but we couldn't browse to it. We put in the address for the browser and couldn't find it. The critical turning point was downloading and running the Synology Assistant desktop application, actually from the Synology website, an actual program that you download to the computer. Because it uses layer 2 network broadcasts instead of internet-dependent DNS, it bypassed the routing issues. And that worked. That worked beautifully. We saw it. We could get connected to it. And even after getting connected to it, I think Find Synology still didn't work. But don't quote me on that bit. The double-click discovery. The Synology Assistant failed on the first click, but found the NAS on the immediate second click. Oh, yeah, I remember that too. I downloaded this program, and it instantly popped up a message, failed to find. And I have pictures. We have to poke around them. Well, I don't think it'll be too hard to find them if you really want them. But then I made it check again. The first time it gave me that error message, I copied it into the Gemini chat, and it was going on to other troubleshooting. It was, oh, we're busted. We're done for. We got trouble. Maybe we got a hardware problem. It did not know where to go, and I said, let's just try again. So I just tried again, and it worked. Took a few moments for it to find, which seemed totally sensible. This occurred because the network switch needed a few seconds to negotiate the connection. So as soon as I installed that program, it just launched and just boom, instantly failed. So it's the network switch. No, I'm not buying that because both devices were already connected. This was just the program launching. I think it's more likely that, I don't know, program wasn't fully launched. I don't know. I only work here. Dual DHCP addresses. The assistant revealed that because both LANs were plugged into the switch, the Fortinet router had successfully handed out two dynamic IP addresses, 114 and 125, bypassing this. Oh, this was a solution? That's not an issue, or there's two network adapters on the device, so it handed out two addresses. Bypassing the setup loop, you bypass the buggy email verification 2FA loop simply by clicking X to close the window or refreshing the page, confirming that it was an unnecessary upsell screen. Yeah, what was that? There was at some point, I'd probably have to see the pictures to remind myself what was going on there. But there was some place where it was prompting me for two-factor authentication, and I want that. So I was clicking to go down that road, and it was not working. Oh yeah, remember earlier it told us about a problem with the 2FA not sending the email, and it just kept me at that, locked into that page. But then finally I could just click the X to close that window, which was basically saying, no, we're not going to do 2FA. So right now it doesn't have 2FA for logging into it. That's on my list to go back and deal with. Bonding and restoring the static IP. Once logged in, you went to control panel and network and successfully bonded LAN 1, LAN 2. Crucially, you used adaptive load balancing, which allowed the ports to bond without requiring special configuration on the locked down Fortinet router. During this step, you assigned the legacy static IP addresses .103 because that's what the workstations in the office already know for that device. Re-enabling SMB. To restore access to the office, you went to Control Panel, File Services, and re-enabled SMB service that had been turned off prior to the migration. So this section here we just went through were the fixes. Final status. The drives were successfully adopted, the data remained intact, the network interface was bonded and assigned the correct IP, and the office workstations instantly regained their access to the X and W drives. Now, because of these problems, this process took a lot longer than I had anticipated. And I was getting hungry, and I was getting cranky, and I was getting rude and mean to Gemini when it was, forgetting the context of our conversation and so on. I also had case this morning, Gemini to the rescue at a client's office this morning before showtime, and that's what caused me to be, well, not late, but on a very thin line for arriving back here at my home 7 minutes before showtime. All right, that's the NAS story. Jim, do you have questions, or anyone else? Wow, look at that. All that stuff I got through. We're not even an hour into the show. My eyes are just kind of drifting. So don't think that I'm skipping over you intentionally. Jim, some of this is why I prefer to roll my own NAS. Yeah, and that is something I specifically am not interested in doing because of the environment that I work in. Jim works in a different environment than I work in, and I stick to how broadly accepted industry products.
Read chat, please.
And people might question that with my interest in B-Link. Jim says, sound like comedy of errors. Yeah. Well, a comedy of errors and things that went wrong. So was there an error with the first presenting trouble? I don't see it. I don't see the first presenting trouble was after, and I'll just speak it off my head, top of my head, because after I put the drives in that already had the data on them, I used findsynology.com. It worked perfectly. I found the new IP addresses that it was at. Findsynology.com. And it you know what? Let me get pictures. It's going to be a lot easier to tell the story sequentially, because I don't see that I did anything wrong that caused the problems, and I'm interested in finding out if I did. So let's get my iCloud up, and I'll go find the pictures that are appropriate, and I'm going to be switching back to the Doug cam from the pictures, probably going from one to another to be sure I don't expose something I shouldn't oughta. iCloud photos coming up. I'll take the opportunity to put chat up on Baby Beast so that I can look over that way. Could put it on that screen. Well, it's taking a long time to come up. Oh, there it came up finally. Because it was taking a long time, I brought up Task Manager Performance, showing all my logical processors. So it's got everything farmed out across all the threads doing some little piece of the job. All right, now gonna go find, let's see, that was last weekend. So that I'll go look for by date for the 4th. I'll scroll up till I get to April 3rd through 7th. There's lots of pictures other than the NAS. There I see some pictures that have the NAS, so I'm looking for the beginning of that. Let's see, it's got to be, what was that picture? Nope, that's not NAS, that's not NAS, that's not. So here's the first. Hammering through to get a little bit. Yeah, all right. Oh, I see what I was doing. All right, so here, I was documenting. This is the new NAS with the drives after they've been adopted, and I find that I have a problem. So I'm documenting here. The status light is blinking. It's off in this picture. This picture, it's on. So that was just my documentation. What's going on with the lights? The drive lights were on solid. The status light was blinking. I didn't know at that time if that was even important information. And then let's see here. I think I must have shut the NAS down. And oh, I think I must be going after the reset button is why I shut it down. Here it looks like the power button looks like it's on, and the drive lights are not on yet. Then what's next? Yeah, so here's where I went and found the documentation that told me that the reset button is over here on this part, and they didn't really identify what this hole is used for. Oh, and that one that said SATA. Oh, that little, it has the word SATA there. That must be for a SATA external if you have that option. I think that's a different model, because this one, no. Oh, it says eSATA. Oh, of course, that's what that is. That number. Well, this looks different. Yeah, this looks different. See, that's an eSATA connector. I didn't even glance at that. I glanced. I thought I just saw the red and I assumed it was a USB. But these two things here. So this eSATA is referring to this port, and in the picture, there's this Type C port down here. But these holes here are not shown in this picture. And this picture, that looks like a USB port. That does not look like eSATA. So it's different. Yeah, that says USB right there. I don't see any lettering there. All right. Where did I go to? Oh, there. Okay, so previewing a couple more. Oh, I see what I was doing here. So I was showing, I took a picture to show, I would question, is that the reset port? And it just didn't feel right to me because it's a weird shaped hole for a reset. And I could see the word reset there, and I did not see it when I was looking at the back of the device. So I'm just showing what it looks like when the network cables are connected, a little different view of it. Oh, here's how I pulled up the manual, is inside the box. There's this card where you can scan the QR code, and that's what I did. I scanned the QR code and got straight to, I think the first thing it came up with was that manual. In fact, I suspect you could put your phone camera up to that QR code right now and touch the yellow link that comes up, and yeah, sure enough, that'll take you right to the manual, and you can scroll down just a couple scrolls down and you'll get to that very screenshot that I had just given you. So I'm giving you a moment to get your phone out, your camera, and point to that QR code if you want to give that a whirl yourself. Would I get a copyright violation for that? Drinking from my Ken Stout Live Zoom Homies cup. Ken Stout, don't say I never gave you a plug. Yeah, I was looking around for a power plug to give that to him as well. Here you go. Here's a plug for you, Ken Stout. Oh, that's the last of those pictures. Then I go into pictures for my irrigation system overhaul. Yeah, I think that's all there is. Is that
Read
all
chat,
there is?
please.
Is that all there is? That's all there is, my friend. I'm going to try moving chat over. Do I want to do that? Yeah, let's go look here. Parker Morris, Doug, when you were doing the migration, was NAS automatically updating? I'm not sure. Are you asking, was it in the process of performing an update and that might be what caused the trouble? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was Saturday morning of last week. No, Saturday afternoon. No, Sunday morning last week. Yeah. So is that why you're asking that? Proposing that maybe that's why the trouble? Dennis, the real question is how did the firewall rule get changed? I don't think that's actually what happened. I think Gemini was assuming that. Gemini and any AI will make deductions from general knowledge and insist that it must be. It must be such and such. And I, many times, contradict and say, no, I think you're wrong about that because such as so and so. And then it says, oh, you were right to call me out on that. You're so smart. And yeah, I don't think there was any firewall rule involved because we didn't change any firewall rule to get it working. Yeah, I don't think there was. The managed firewall is managed by the ISP for this office. It is not actively managed. They do trouble tickets when they do work. Anytime there's work that they do for us, there's a trouble ticket and then there's a follow-up and then there's a resolution. And what I get is month after month, I get a trouble ticket. It doesn't happen every month, but I get a trouble ticket.
That's a big 10-4.
When the license is expired. Thank you, Park. Park? Is that a legitimate nickname? Park? When I get a notification that the license is expiring, and then a notification when they've applied the license renewal. So they're telling me that they've done that. I also get an email trouble ticket from them when they notice that it has gone down because the building had a power outage. And then when the power comes back on, they send another one saying it has been restored, as if they had fixed it. That's all I ever get from them. They do not manage that beyond the very basic, broad, known troubles. So they don't restrict MAC addresses to anything of our devices. So no, there was no firewall rule there in place. So I was going back to try to figure out, did I do anything wrong to set this up? So what happened was put the drives in, and findsynology.com worked perfectly. And it gave me a prompt saying that it's something like, it looks, I didn't take pictures of it. It looks like you have installed drives from a previous device, like you're upgrading whatever the verbiage is. Do you want to adopt these? Yes. I'm not going to be able to quote exactly how this process went. Oh, wait a minute. Could it be? Let me check on something. I might have pictures. Because if I take pictures in Gemini on my phone and load those, if I'm actually taking the picture from the Gemini prompt, I don't think those go into my photos album. Yeah, like here, yeah, because I have picture here for the regarding the nano KVM search. So I'm looking at this to see. Let's see what ping subnet. Oh, users resource. Yeah, okay. I think I can show you this. Oh, all right. And it took me a little while to understand the picture I got here. Okay, so here, this is pasted into my Microsoft OneNote. You can see that I'm on my technical notes, Microsoft OneNote, and I'm on a page called Configuration Issues, and or a section called Configuration Issues, and a page called Nano KVM Search for IP Address from Carrie Holzman. So it was, looks like May 6, 2025, August, whatever that is. And this is that utility, and it shows down here, downloads of this program created by Dennis Hill. So Dennis Hill, thank you very much, are stored in such and such. This is my note to me. This is where I store it on my OneDrive. And so here I'm executing it, nano kvm-dt, and it is pinging the subnet to populate the ARP tables. So this is where I got the idea that it's pinging all the possible addresses. Yes, it is. It's not restricted to addresses that have the MAC address of a nano KVM, or the preamble to all nano KVMs start with a fixed portion of the MAC address. They're going to be the same. Okay, see, that wasn't in my photos library. That's because when I take a picture directly into Gemini, it doesn't store. So then I'm going to see what is next in terms of pictures. Okay, this picture gives a whole bunch of IP addresses. Yeah, okay, so this is useful to point out. So it finds all these IP addresses with physical addresses, and somewhere along the line I asked Gemini, are any of these hardware addresses fall within the range for Synology? That's how I was looking to figure out what IP address Synology was at, and the answer was no, they are not. So I gave it it took 2 pictures to cover all the addresses. And Gemini told me, no, none of those belong to it. It did identify there's some Dell devices and Shenzhen and Ubiquiti. There's where it's telling me to do a mode 1 network reset. So let's see, can I show this? Yeah, it looks like I can show this. So here's where I said, this confirms you need to use the mode 1 network reset mentioned previously. Leaving the NAS powered on, press and hold the physical reset button on the back with the paperclip for 4 seconds till you hear a single beep, then let go immediately. This will wipe out any old static IP address. Force the NAS to say hello to the Fortinet router so it can finally join the subnet. This process only resets network and password and admin password. All right, my bad. I didn't think that. I thought it was going to be longer. But my admin password still worked. So that's why it later thought that that didn't work, but I held it for 4 seconds and I heard a single beep. Okay, now I'm going down this road because I said that I want to figure out, did I do anything wrong? So we're already at the problem here. All I had done up to this point was I had put in the prior drives from that Synology. It adopted them successfully. Then it restarted. After the restart, I could not get connected to it. Today, I think, because I know about the downloadable app, if I knew about that and had tried connecting by that, I think that would have worked. Boom. Because through all the stuff that I did, findsynology.com still failed, and trying to log into the IP address still failed. But the locally installed app worked. That was the solution. So if I had known about that, so there's a comedy of errors. That was the first one. I didn't know. So those of you who have worked with Synology, okay, I'd like to see yeses and nos in chat, not exclamation mark, just yeses and nos. But only if you have worked with Synology. If you've not worked with Synology, then don't answer either way. If you have worked with Synology and you knew about the desktop app, reply with a yes. If you've worked with Synology and you did not know about the downloadable Synology app, reply with a no. I'd like to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Is this something that everyone else already knew about, but because I'm a newbie with Synology NAS, I didn't know? Danielle Emberly says, yes, she knew about it. She's worked with Synology and she knew about it. Awesome. Where were you last Sunday? Just kidding. I was scrolling down here for other pictures in this chat. What was I doing here? Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anybody other than Danielle and responding to that question. Yeah, this may not be of interest to anybody, but this, I think, is when I was connected directly with an Ethernet cable between the laptop and the Synology, and it didn't find its address at all, but they'd have to be on the same subnet. So the auto-generated IP address for my laptop, would it be that? That doesn't seem likely. That's the broadcast address, isn't it? No, the 224. Is that? I don't know. Moving on. Got a bunch of similar pictures there. I don't see a point going down that road any further. About the direct connection, because that didn't work. So here's another set of 6 pictures. Okay, this is the app, the downloadable Synology Assistant app. This is what its screen looks like. And this is what I described to you, that it didn't find it. I installed the app and it immediately opened up with this screen. No Synology server was found on the local network. I gave this picture to Gemini and it did not even suggest try it again. Please try the following methods to locate your device. Enable allow compatibility with devices that do not support password encryption option in preferences in the upper right corner. Temporarily disable firewall and any antivirus software. Connect your device directly to your computer using an Ethernet cable without going through a network switch or router. So that's one of the things that I had done. I'm not sure if I was running this Synology Assistant while I was directly connected or not. We'll probably be able to see in a moment based upon the IP address. Run Synology Assistant on another computer. Try using an Ethernet cable. Notice it did not suggest scan again. See right up here, search. So what I did next was I did search. Let's see. Here's my description. The first screenshot came up instantly upon opening the Synology Assistant. I just missed it and then clicked on search again without making any changes, and then it was found. I have no idea why it's found it now and has not been found all along. Find Synology.com still fails. Pings are successful. Browser to 125 was successful. Subsequent attempt for 114 was successful. So this is saying those things were successful. No, Find Synology still fails. I can ping it now, and I can browse to the address now that I know what it is. Yeah, because once I had successfully found it, then I knew what the IP addresses were. Yeah, that's not, I don't see anything there of concern. All right. But I'm gonna do a little blur anyway. So, studio mode, bring that screen up, turn a blur on and select it and scrunch that down to hide the serial number. I don't know if that's important, but whatever. Is it, oh, there. That. Okay, then transition. So here's the, yeah, I found the IP address. So this is what it looks like when on a successful search. It'll give the name of it and the current IP address and that information. So once I had these IP addresses, I was then able to ping either of those, and I was able to put that address in the browser, but finds Synology.com still doesn't work. Okay. Let's see. I think I need to go back. Turn that blur off. Go to the next picture. Oh yeah, here we see exactly that. There you go. No Synology device found. This is with findssynology.com. Check the connectivity, yada, yada. So still not working. Then, let's see, what do we get here? Yeah, I'm just showing, documenting, proving here that pinging, that 125 address works and the 114 address works. So pinging works, even though findssynology.com does not. Oh. Well, now, I thought I read somewhere where
read chat, please.
Read somewhere where I was able to put in the IP address in the browser, but no, this is showing that it didn't. It didn't work. See here, I'm going to that IP address, the 114. Sorry, the page you're looking for is not found. Did not work. So somehow I had that documentation wrong. Rand Israel says, does Synology use standard ports for web 8443 or custom ones? I'm contemplating whether I have any evidence of that. I can't say that I know it offhand. I think this answers that. Is and you might have just noticed it because I think I had this on screen right about the time you were typing your message. This 114:5000. So somehow it's going to port 5000. And I'll go back and look at the other one. 125. Do I have that there? I don't think I have the 125 there. Oh, well, yeah, here. Okay. Yeah, this shows it. Yeah, the 125 worked, but the 114 did not. And here it shows when I went to the 125, it somehow redirected to port 5001. So I don't know the mechanics behind that, how it does that. Does it first go to like, 125:index and somehow that redirects to the appropriate port? I don't know. Not too concerned. Okay, that is that list of 6 pictures. Here's 3 pictures. What's going on here? Once I got I'm suspecting this is what happened when I was signing in to the NAS. It popped up this window: securely access and share files from anywhere. And these 3 choices: install now. I just said no thanks. Which this would have been after. I'm pretty sure this is after I adopted the drives. I'm going to be a little embarrassed if I got this whole thing backwards and haven't even done that yet. Gots to be. Going to the next picture. It's the same picture. I don't see any difference. The third of those 3 pictures. Same picture. Why did I do the same picture 3 times in a row? It can't be an accidental slip on the phone, because each of those pictures has to be initiated by clicking the plus sign right down here. Click the plus sign, and on the phone. I'm doing this on a cell phone. And camera is one of the options. So it wasn't just slipping on the phone. Let's see what the rest of that prompt is before I show it. Oh, okay. Before I saw your claim that the network admin password was reset successfully, logged in as admin with the old password. It is working. Somehow I am no longer able to paste screenshots into. There is a message prompting me. Oh, that's where Gemini got broken. Wait, what? Gemini gets broken sometimes? Yes. No, okay, those messages that were coming up. Gemini saying it's trying to upsell you on installing their suite of productivity apps. Synology Drive, self-hosted Dropbox, Synology Office like Google Docs, Synology Photos like Google Photos. While you can use those apps strictly on a local network without internet access, Synology pushes them hard right at the beginning because they are the main features people use when they do want remote internet access. Yeah. Looking for more pictures. Enjoy your coffee, Marsman. Oh, yeah, here's that bit about the verification email problem. Yeah, this is fine. Unable to perform this operation, check your network settings, try again later. Please set up a backup email if you lose your mobile device, emergency verification. Backup email, I put in my email address, send verification mail. So I was looking at my mail. There was no mail messages coming in. The backup email is the same as your account. The backup email is the same as your account email. Updating the backup email also changes. You know what? I bet the problem there, here's Jim's comedy of errors. I bet the problem here is I was supposed to put in a different email address. And it's telling me right here, the backup email that I put in is the same as your account email. So when I click send verification and it didn't do anything, it just sat there staring at me like a dummy. Like a dummy was sitting in front of it. That's why it didn't work, because I got to use a different email address. All right, so that was an error. There we go. Oh, and here's where I was getting cranky. As a person who is fairly new to Synology, I am not very impressed. On the first attempt to send the verification email, it did not come in after several minutes, and I tried again. Then I got that error message, unable to do it, and then actually eventually came. And then it actually eventually came through. It's just really seems kind of roll of the dice as to whether it's going to work. And the way you described that web interface is consistent. I don't recall exactly how you described that. And my whole experience with not being able to find it, I'm very much not impressed. Yeah, I was just cranky there. Now, there was speech to text errors in that. It's obvious to me. But this kind of implies that it eventually, that sending to that email address eventually worked, and I don't think it did. I'll go find out if it did. Because if it did, then there would be an email in my inbox last Sunday for that on the 12th. Wait a minute. No, not the 12th. Today's the 11th. What are we going to do? The 5th. Oh, there is Synology notifications. Verify your email address. It did verify Doug at DougBetts. If this is correct, click this link to complete the verification. So it didn't need a different address. Here it is. Synology notification system. Your email address, if this is correct, click this link to complete verification. So it did work. That was 11:31 a.m. on Sunday. No, I don't know. I'm confused. Because I was saying it's the same address. It needs to be backup. Should be different. But it went through eventually. I knew I was at that point. I was ready for the loony bin. Okay, so this looks like its response to me there. I completely understand why you feel that way. This is Gemini being empathetic, validating my feelings. And honestly, your frustration is entirely justified. When you buy an enterprise-grade piece of hardware, you expect the setup to feel seamless, not like a clunky roll of the dice. What you experienced today highlights the biggest open secret in the IT world regarding Synology. Their core local storage technology is rock solid, but their cloud and web-based setup tools can be incredibly temperamental. Here's exactly what happened behind the scenes and what that email delay and the error code. Anytime AI says, here is exactly what happened, this is definitely absolute. No, don't fall for that. Evaluate it. Use your human intelligence, your own AI, actual intelligence. Human intelligence is actual intelligence. AI is artificial intelligence. Dennis got a laugh there somewhere, somehow out of that. The delay, because your NAS just spent the morning fighting to get a valid IP address and connect to your Fortinet router, its internal DNS, the phone book it uses to find the internet, was likely just waking up. When you asked it to send an email, it took longer than usual to route that request to Synology servers. Does that sound like BS to anyone other than me? AIBS. You're trying to excuse your fellow technology, not technologists, but fellow technology, your comrade, your associate, your colleague. When the email didn't arrive instantly, you click send again. The NAS through error code 9092. This is Synology's generic network timeout rate limiting error. It essentially means, hold on, I'm already trying to communicate with the email server. Don't rush me. The success. Eventually, the bottleneck cleared. The first request went through, and you got the verification link. Good news. The silver lining here is the flaky parts of Synology almost exclusively tied to its external internet features, things like find Synology.com, quick connect, and email notifications. Okay, I've said that wrong. The silver lining here is that the flaky parts of Synology are almost exclusively tied to its external internet features. Things like finds.synology.com, quick connect, and email notifications. Since your goal is to use this NAS as a secure local hardwired file server behind your Fortinet router, you are officially done. You are officially done dealing with the weakest parts of the system. The underlying local file sharing SMB and the RAID storage management are absolute tanks. Once a Synology is mapped to your local computer, it generally just works quietly in the background for years. What's next? The third screenshot confirms that your email is successfully verified, so you have bypassed that hurdle. Now that we have finally wrestled the system into submission and you are logged in, are you ready to map the NAS to your Windows computer as a network drive so you can actually start managing your files? Keep in mind what I'm feeling at this point in time. I've been there for a few hours. This was expected to take 20 minutes. And now Gemini says this. I don't know how well the initial prompt in this chat was brought over from the end of our previous chat. Are you aware that this was removing the drives from the old NAS and installing the new NAS? So the drives already have content on them. We don't need to get them configured to work as they were running. So your question about, am I ready to map my Windows computer so I can start managing my files? is a little bit unnerving. Have you lost sight of what we're doing here? I had to repeat that because it didn't get it right the first time around. I'm beginning to feel like I should move on and get off this topic. You're 100% right to call me out on that, and I completely understand. Yada, yada, yada. Don't need to read the rest of that. Oh, I do still need to do this. Oh, there's something here I should. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, the repair apps bit I haven't done yet. I need to go in Package Center. It's routine that you have to go repair apps apparently when you do this kind of an upgrade. Oh, what was this about? Here, get back to this. This part about the backup email. Somehow I got back into this. So until this is still messing up. I'm tired. I've been at this for multiple hours. I have already got a successful verification message. And now I click the next button and it tells me I'm not verified. Oh, so yeah, I got I remember I got the verification email. And then when I clicked OK here and then clicked next, and it came up with this message again saying I'm not verified. So let's bypass this. You do not need to set it up. Just click the X to close it and back out of the two-factor authentication. So I did that. And we bonded the two network adapters. I'm not going to read through that. So that switched over to the static IP address. Then the shared files were not coming up on the workstations yet. That's when I realized we had to go back and turn the SMB on. Scrolling. Repair apps. All right, that's enough. That's enough. We're out of here. Jim says, we don't need no stinking content. I don't think he means YouTube content. I think he means files on the device. That one. 15 minutes left. Were there any other, I didn't see any other questions or stories that you have. This would be a great time for that. If there's anything about my initial review of my time slips for the week or my Gemini chats that you're curious about, you can ask them about that. Oh, Dennis has another interpretation of AI, almost intelligent. fancy word processor with scripts. Danielle says, the Synology PC app I found disappointing was Synology Hyper Backup Explorer. Yeah, this is, so I don't know, were you looking, when you answered my question about that app, were you thinking of other Synology apps or specifically the one that I used to find it? Synology Hyper Backup Explorer software to recover files from Synology Cloud to PC. Yeah, I haven't tried that. I am setting up. I had tried to set up, and I've told you the story. Setting up Magnus Box to back up the Synology. I've already had Magnus Box in operation for the file servers in this office for a couple years. I know Synology has its own cloud backup capability. I guess that's the devil, you know. I have Magnus Box set up across a bunch of clients. This is the only client that's going to have Synology. So for me to know and learn yet another backup capability, it just doesn't make sense. I think I'm just going to stay with the Magnus Box once I get that working right. Marsman, did you catch Carrie on Friday about B-Link driver usage? You might want to check it. Yes, I did. I did see that. And I do have, I know what I would do for that. And I don't know that Kerry is watching right now, but I do have a couple suggestions if he hasn't solved it. I did a little skipping around and I got to the end and I got the impression that it was not solved. And what happened was he bought a bare bones model of B-Link, installed a drive and installed memory, installed Windows from installation media, and then there were two drivers that, as far as I know, he never did get installed correctly during the show. And he said he was going to work on it after the show. So what I would have done is grab the drivers from any other B-Link, because I suspect those two drivers might be broad application across all of B-Link's models. Maybe not. But on another B-Link, do an export of drivers. I know he knows how to do that. And then use those drivers to as your source for installing drivers for those two devices that don't have the right drivers. That may work. The other thing I would do is, if I were to do a bare bones, I would most likely start with restoring an image from another B-Link computer, even if it's a different computer, because that's going to get straight to a Windows installation, and it's from another B-Link computer. It's going to be their perversion of Windows, because their installation of Windows is not a generic Microsoft Windows 11. They've done some tweaking. We don't know how they tweaked it. Maybe they tweaked it simply by using that tool for creating USB installation media that it's like Optane. I still haven't learned that name. Or did they do some other modifications? Because when you fire up one of their computers, Rufus, thank you, Wintermute. Did they just use Rufus, or did they do some other tweaking as well that might have something to do with the Windows activation? I don't know. Or the drivers. So I would ideally, the best scenario would be like right now, since the computers are so expensive. If I were to buy a bare bones B-Link S13, install my own storage and my own memory, Ideally, it'd restore an image from the same exact model. That'd be ideal. But I suspect that you could restore any B-Link model. That one was a high-end B-Link, so maybe if he's got another moderately high-end B-Link, make an image backup and restore it to this one. So the two directions: export drivers from another B-Link, import those drivers, or just restore an image. Those will be what I would do, what I would try. I haven't quite done that combination, so. But yeah, I was when I realized that he was talking about B-Link, that I watched that through more. I don't get to watch any other tech videos very much these days. I'm just too busy. So I used to try to keep up with them all, particularly all of Carrie's, but I got to a point where I was just burnt out with things to do and I had to make changes. So cutting out watching other people's videos that I like was one of them. Dennis, he says, Doug, I have a question. Dennis, my eyes happen to fall upon that. I'm not seeing every email, every chat message. So you really need to do !C to preface that for me to see that. So let's go find that. I saw it in OBS. So I'll go find it on my big screen. Oh, come on, where is it? Just saw it. It was near the bottom, right? It's got to be there. Oh, there it is. Doug, I have a question. I still haven't read it. Why did Windows Update to 24H2 allow it to fill a SSD to 1% capacity and fail? Windows should know better to do an upgrade without enough space. Yeah, duh. Microsoft. Doug, I have a question. Why did Windows Update to 24H2 allow it to fill SSD to 1% capacity, then fail? Windows should know better to do an upgrade without enough space. Is there any way to excuse that? Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna copy that. Some of you already know what I'm gonna do. Come over here, new chat. A participant in the chat room of my YouTube live stream asked this question. I want to know if you have any way to defend
Read chat, please.
Microsoft on why they were not able to do this. That read chat was, oh, that's a link from Zavi. I misread it. I thought it was Domain 2000 saying throw it all in AI. And so Zavi's got a Gemini chat link. And right click, open a new tab. Synology DSM web login ports. Synology Disk Station Manager uses the following ports. Oh, 5000, 5001, recommend for secure connection. Oh, with the S. Common web related service ports. If you're trying to access specific packages. Oh, he says mistake. That was the V Minor saying mistake. What was mistake? Something in here is a mistake? Did you send me the wrong one? Well, I'll give you a chance to clarify what you mean by that. We'll go see what it says over here. Hey there, and hello to Doug in the chat. He thinks the question came from Doug in the chat. It's a great question. Doug's frustration is 100% justified based on what he's seeing on his screen. To directly answer the question, Windows actually does check for free space before initiating a major feature update. It usually requires a buffer around 20-30 gigabytes and will actively block the installation, prompting you to plug in an external drive or run StorageSend if you don't have enough room. It's not designed to blindly write data until the drive hits 99.9 and completely crashes. It is not designed to blindly write data until the drive... Okay, all right, accept that. So why did Doug's drive seemingly fill up to the brim? He's going to have an identity crisis, isn't he? And fail during the Windows 11 24H2 update. It's highly likely Doug was a victim of a messy combination of two highly publicized bugs specific to the 24H2 release. Okay, it's given us an explanation that may be plausible. Here is a technical explanation and the defense of Microsoft update process for what actually happened under the hood. It might be legitimate explanation. Not good enough. Do better. The NVMe SSD firmware crashed, the real reason for the failure. If the update actively crashed, failed, or made the drive read as unreadable or drastically reducing capacity, this is the main culprit. Windows 11 24H2 changed how the operating system interacts with NVMe storage. Specifically, it altered NVMe driver timings and increased the host memory buffer allocation from 64 to 200. So it sounds like the update itself created a problem. Well, then the update should have been programmed to require more space. The reality, this change exposed a dormant firmware bug in certain SSDs, most noticeably using Phison controllers or DRAM-less drives, like the 2 terabyte Western Digital YATA. When Windows pushes a massive sustained write operation like unpacking a massive OS upgrade to these drives, the SSD's own hardware controller panics. It enters production mode, stalls, and drops offline mid-update. The result, Windows throws a blue screen or fails the update upon reboot. SSD might show up as corrupted, unreadable, display wild capacity errors. It looks exactly like the drive ran out of space and choked, but it was actually a hardware-level controller crash triggered by the new Windows storage driver. SSDs don't perform that well when there's low space. I mean, the requirement for free space should be much higher. The 24H2 storage reporting bug, the ghost data, to add insult to injury, right after the 24H2 rolled out, thousands of users panicked because their drives suddenly looked full. When they went to disk cleanup, it showed a massive 8.63 gigabytes Windows Update cleanup cache that refused to delete. I remember that. The reality, Microsoft confirmed this, a reported glitch in OS interface. The space was successfully cleared and is available to the system, but Windows mistakenly reports that the 8.6 gigabytes is taking up space. So Doug's SSD might not actually be as full as Windows is telling him. The verdict for Doug. If I were defending Microsoft, I'd tell Doug that the update didn't fail because Windows forgot how to do basic math on its free space. It failed because the 24H2 update fundamentally changed how the OS talks to modern SSDs, which triggered a panic in its SSD's hardware controller doing the heavy lifting. Combine that hardware crash with a UI bug that lies about how much space is left, and it creates the exact and incredibly stressful scenario he's looking at. Next steps for Doug. Tell him to check the SSD's manufacturer's website to see if there's a firmware update available for a specific drive. Fixing the drive's firmware has been the primary way to stop 24H2 from yada yada. Yeah. No, don't buy it. It's an explanation. It's not an excuse. I'll buy it as an explanation. I don't buy it as an excuse. Microsoft should have known better and required more space. That's just being firmware to Microsoft, being firm with Microsoft, firmware to Microsoft. Be firm with them. It's their fault. They have the deep pockets. It's their fault. All right, I think we're done. Oh, did we try to send a link with Gemini? Copy Dennis's questions. Oh, so the mistake was that I got the wrong one. I think we're good to go. Use this link if having problems with updating your drivers. The Microsoft catalog? I don't think so. That's not going to do manufactured device drivers. That's just Microsoft's update catalog. I don't know why you're thinking that's going to fix driver problems. If you're having problems with getting your no, he's not saying drivers. He's saying updates. And that wouldn't have solved the problem of 24H2 running out of space. Yeah, well, I think we're out of time to discuss that further. So thank you, everybody. It's good to see you all again. And I hope you're having a great weekend. I will catch you next week. There we go. Adios.
That's all, folks.
Tune in, days a week for Windows support, the help you seek. Send an email, leave a comment, join the chat. Our tech-savvy crew is where it's at. Not just me, but a whole community, helping you solve tech mysteries. With friends who are here almost every day, we love to chat and help you find your way. So subscribe now, be part of the team, for Windows support and more than you've dreamed. Join the fun, don't miss a single stream. At LiveWindowsTraining-DougBetts or simply where tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme. Tune in, days a week for Windows support, the help you seek. Send an email, leave a comment, join the chat. Our tech-savvy crew is where it's at. Not just me, but a whole community, helping you solve tech mysteries. With friends who are here almost every day, we love to chat and help you find your way. So subscribe now, be part of the team, for Windows support and more than you've dreamed. Join the fun, don't miss a single stream. At LiveWindowsTraining-DougBetts or simply more deeply VB, where tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme. Tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme.